Alexander Hamilton is a towering figure in early American history. Hamilton rose from an impoverished immigrant to Washington's top aide in the Revolutionary War. It was early in the new nation. George Washington was president and appointed Hamilton as the first Treasury Secretary. In the late 1700s, Alexander Hamilton revolutionized an archaic financial institution which was completely bankrupt and created a central financial system that is still used today. The period preceding Alexander Hamilton's term in office, especially during the American Revolution, was characterized by chaos and instability in the financial system. Hamilton was George Washington's top aide in the Revolutionary War. He saw firsthand the lack of finances for the troops and compared it to what the British could do. Financially, the British had a stable, centralized taxation and credit system, and the people had proper representation. In addition, with the Revolutionary War in full swing, the British were counterfeiting the continental dollars like there was no tomorrow. This counterfeiting led to the well-known phrase, "not worth a continental." The war debt of the states and the national government was rising, and under the Articles of Confederation, they had no way of repaying it. The Articles of Confederation gave the government, both state and national, no power to tax, and without this power, they couldn't borrow sufficient funds. The Articles of Confederation had another weakness, that is that it didn't establish a common currency. Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and New York, along with every other state, established their own currency. Multiple currencies were bad for business and interstate commerce. Also, there was no banking system to make loans and store money. People hoarded their gold and silver because of the lack of confidence in the paper currency. The public credit was in shambles. Before Hamilton, the whole economy was unstable. In Hamilton and the Federalist Financial Revolution, 1789 through 1795, Richard Silas stated, "In truth, Hamilton as Treasury Secretary did much more than stabilize the finances of the government." When he took up his duties in 1789, the United States had none of the elements of a modern financial system. When he left office in 1795, it had all of them. Even before coming to office in 1789, Alexander Hamilton started formulating ideas for a central government sitting on sound financial ground. He started this by writing a series of papers called the Federalist Papers. The first essay appeared in the Independent Journal, October 27, 1787. After much work, 84 more essays were published, some of which with the assistance of John Jay and James Madison, who was instrumental in the drafting of the United States Constitution. Hamilton supervised the whole project. The Federalist Papers were key to gaining support for the new centralized government from some of the most prominent people of the time. Hamilton said in Federalist Final Essay 85, "A nation without a national government is, in my view, an awful spectacle." In the 6 years he was in office, Alexander Hamilton pulled off the seemingly impossible task of fixing the American economy and financial system. He did this by submitting and passing through Congress 4 reports. Dr. David Cowan, President and CEO of the Museum of American Finance, will elaborate on the first issue Hamilton dealt with.
The report on public credit, and this had to do with the assumption of the leftover war debts from the states and from the Continental Congress that was there. Now, what does that mean? It's kind of like a heady phrase. So each one of these colonies issued debt to help finance the war effort. Some states issued a lot of debt, like Massachusetts and North Carolina. Some states didn't issue a lot of debt, like Virginia. So Virginians were saying, why in the world would we assume this new government, those old war debts, why am I taking over debt from an individual from Massachusetts? This is very similar to today, where Germans are grappling with this Greek debt. Why should I, as a German, take over Greek's debt? Same thing. Remember, we weren't a country yet. Virginia's saying, well, I'm not paying for those guys up in Massachusetts. So it's deadlocked in Congress. Now, Hamilton, this is the first critical piece, that we need to honor this debt. And it's about $75 million worth all in. And so the most famous trade in American history takes place. He trades the Virginians the capital to be on the shores of the Potomac 10 years from that date in exchange for them agreeing to honor the debt. And yeah, the New Yorkers probably wanted the capital here in New York where it was at the time. Virginians want it where they want it. Philadelphians want it in Philadelphia. And so Philadelphia gets the capital for 10 years as a bargain. And so then all the debts of the state are assumed, and we had some debt to the French and to others internationally, is assumed and rebundled and then issued as a 3% security, a 6% security, and a deferred security. So that's his first piece. And we have a very piece of that assumed debt. And I love this one because it's the debt of a Patrick Henry. And Patrick Henry, of course, said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And here we have his assumed debt. And you can see even the hotheads had bonds in their country.
Second, Hamilton created the first national bank in the Report on a National Bank. These banks hold confidence, i.e. the banks use gold or silver to back up the paper currency that was issued. Third, Hamilton was a great supporter of manufacturers, so he created the Report on Manufacturers. In this, he asked to expand their supplies so that the demand will grow and there would be an increase in revenue to both the workers and the government. Fourth, addressing further issues about the Articles of Confederation, Hamilton created a report on a mint, which set the dollar as it is today. It's the same in every state, making interstate commerce and business a breeze. Dr. Cowan explains this new model.
We call it a diamond growth model in running the bases, so just bear with me for a sec. But at home base, it's like a baseball field. You get a good government in place, and this is a government that respects private laws. You have rules and laws of order, because if you don't have laws, you are completely lost in the society. But so then you can have private property ownership, corporations, and these other types of legal entities that help you get a solid base. Then you get to first base, and first base is a financial system. This is not just banks, but it's also markets where savers of capital and users of capital can come together. And then you can get to second base. And second base is where you unleash your entrepreneurs. And these entrepreneurs, many of them don't make it, but you at least unleash them. They can tap into the capital of the financial system to try and build their companies. And then a few of them do make it. They grow into huge companies. Let's say Google is a great recent example, or Apple in the last 20, 30 years. So the point is then they get to third base and you get these large companies that can grow.
Hamilton and the Federalists instituted a central bank which facilitated the movement of trade. They also created a stock market and the use of gold and silver to back up paper currency. All of these factors improved business and created confidence in the system. The Anti-Federalists, led by Thomas Jefferson, claimed this was inappropriate, favoring an agricultural economy. According to Richard Sila in the New York Journal of American History, Thomas Jefferson and the Anti-Federalists were concerned with the centralized and politically corrupt system in Britain, with its squalid cities and factories, its speculators and stock jobbers, its high taxes, and its imperialistic, militaristic adventurism. They wanted a decentralized republic with rural life and an agriculture-based economy. Hamilton and his followers won Washington's approval. The forward vision and action by Hamilton and the Federalists won the day. In the late 1700s, Alexander Hamilton revolutionized an archaic financial institution which was completely bankrupt and created a central financial system that is still used today. The young country was relieved of its debt and industry was allowed to flourish. National banks were created which helped businesses grow. The mint, with a single currency, simplified business transactions. The stock market was an active participant of the success of business and industry. Alexander Hamilton's ideas were extraordinary, not only for their accomplishment in establishing a fledgling country, but also for their continued success today.